Hi, my name is Sun, a country girl who just moved to France. I'm a part-time employee at a coffee shop. The story started when I met the love of my life, Max. That night at work, I met this super interesting guy. He ordered a cookie frappuccino with a lot of cream on top, which impressed me a lot because it was a stark contrast to his cool look. It was almost closing time. As we were leaving, I saw him waiting outside. He approached me and quickly put a note in my hand before running off. He was blushing the whole time and I was left dumbfounded after that moment. My heart was jumping in my chest. I took the paper and read the message he left behind. It was his phone number. I was so confused and kept walking back and forth with 1,000 questions in my head. He liked me? What kind of person would it be? What should I do? Noticing me acting weird, Anya, my best friend, tapped my shoulder. Well, he looked fine, but somehow I don't feel good about him. Something is suspicious and I think you better not contact him. Anya frowned. Not really knowing what to do at that moment, I decided to put the note in my pocket and go home. After showering, I got into bed but couldn't help but look at his message one more time. Anya was right. Something was fishy about this whole situation. I agreed and tossed a piece of paper to the side and fell asleep. The next morning, I woke up late and felt immediately stupid for wasting extra time the night before on the note. I rushed to the coffee shop and was met by Anya. "You're late. Look over there. Did you see him?" I wonder why he came back so soon. In the corner of the coffee shop was the guy from last night, alone, with his cookie frappuccino and cream. He looked up as I walked in and our eyes met. What was all this awkwardness about? I could feel my face so hot because of blushing, so I quickly changed into the uniform and started my shift. It was a busy day for us and we were trying to serve the customers as quickly as possible. A guy walked in and got to the front of the line. Needless to say how upset the others felt about that, he shouted at me and slammed his big hand on the counter.
"I'd like coffee! Hurry up!"
Excuse me, sir. Can you please stand in the line? I spoke up, but honestly felt like he would punch me in the face any second after.
"What did you say to me? Don't you know who I am?"
As expected, his hand raised as he finished his words. But out of nowhere, another hand gripped his arm tightly. The man in the black cap bent the rude guy's arm backward and pinned him down to the ground. He leaned down and said something to the big guy. It was so soft, I couldn't hear, but whatever it is, worked immediately. The rude guy apologized as he rushed out of the store as if he had seen a ghost. The sweet boy turned around to check if I was hurt at all. I shook my head lightly, struggling to find my words. Right after that, he walked away, leaving countless admiring glances behind. His actions made me fall deeper in love with him. I couldn't focus at work all day. All I had in my mind was him. Returning home after the long shift, I found his note on the table. I nervously picked it up and gathered all my will to search for his phone number on WhatsApp. The owner of the number was named Max. Other than a profile picture of a cool, handsome guy, no other info could be found. I texted him, "Hi." Almost instantly, a response was received.
"Hi, I'm Max."
And that's how we started chatting with each other. I was happy to find so many common things between us. He visited a coffee shop more often after that. From time to time, I received packages from him as well. It was either flowers, cake, or chocolate. I wasn't used to it at first, but gradually became more comfortable with having him by my side. When he asked me out for the first time, of course, I gladly accepted. Over dinner, he admitted that he noticed me from the first moment that night in the coffee shop. He said he loved my bright smile, just like my name. He walked me home and we had a great time learning more about each other. The next day, I was more cheerful than normal and couldn't stop smiling. Anya approached me with her tarot deck in her hand, asked me to pick one card. It was the 5 of Pentacles. Anya frowned. Something's wrong? This is bad luck. If you pursue this relationship, you're going to get hurt sooner or later. Anya acted mysterious all of a sudden and then burst into laughter. She was just joking, but what she said really made me think. But Tarot can't guarantee the truth. I trust my decision. I picked up the phone and called Max. He arrived soon after in his car and I suddenly felt anxious. He waved me into his car and he wanted to take me to an interesting place. We took off and headed to a hill far away from the city. From up there, the familiar city I lived in looked so sparkling with night lights. I was in awe of that view.
Isn't that amazing?
Max smiled at me. It's kinda hard to believe that I've been here for so long but had no idea that such a view exists in my city. I responded, still feeling overwhelmed.
We often come up here, me and Lynn. She's my little sister. She loved enjoying this view with some ice cream. Lynn's adorable.
Max described his sister with so much love and joy.
My parents passed away from an accident and left us behind, so I took over to take care of her. She's my entire world.
At that moment, I saw another aspect of Max. Not cold anymore, but full of love in his big heart. That, of course, showed me how wrong Anya was, and I had made the right decision. I felt special to be shown to that place by Max, and my love for him kept growing. We saw each other more often after that. Max felt my love for him, and I was moved by how much he cared for me. However, neither of us said anything to the other. One day, he asked me to pay a visit to his home because he wanted to introduce me to his sister. I agreed and didn't forget to buy a big teddy bear as a gift for her. But when we arrived, he told me that Lynn had some extra classes and would come home late. We went ahead and had dinner before her. Max prepared a lot of food and set the table with candles and wine. I truly appreciated his effort. And suddenly, he asked for my hand and put a beautiful ring in my finger.
Could you be my girlfriend?
Max asked. I was speechless and teared up when I nodded to his question. But suddenly, I felt dizzy and couldn't see clearly anymore. Before I fainted, I could hear somebody talking on the phone. When I woke up, I was shocked to find myself tied up in an unfamiliar place that looked abandoned. Are you okay? A soft voice startled me. It belonged to a girl with bright eyes who looked younger than me. She was also tied up next to some other women. What is this place? Who are you? And why are we all tied up like this? I couldn't remember anything. I said nonstop.
I don't know what to tell you, but we've been kidnapped. There's no way back from here. We could only listen to what the human traffickers told us to do or die.
But how did I get here? I got the flashback of being in Max's place for dinner and nothing else after the ring. At that very moment, the door was swung open. A big tattooed guy came in and grabbed me violently. I bit him but was slapped across the face. He threatened to kill me if I misbehaved again. I was so lost and didn't know what happened to me. Where was Max? The big guy dragged me to the room next door and I heard a familiar voice. It was Max! I screamed for help, but when Max walked in, he was not alone. Accompanying him was a bald, short guy in a brown suit. He looked like a real mafia leader. Are they together? Max looked at me pitifully and turned to the bald guy.
Sure, you know how I move.
The bald one said, "What? Max was a liar? I was wrong to trust him. I was blind the whole time." I cried in fear and blamed myself for everything. At that moment, another guy was brought in. It was the girl I met earlier. She wasn't tied and walked slowly toward Max. That was Lynn, his sister. Turned out, Lynn was kidnapped by this gang, and in order to save his sister, Max had to trade in another girl. Me. No words could explain my anger at that time. I wish I could have torn Max into pieces. I hated myself for trusting him even more. Max avoided my stare and walked out as something hit my head and everything turned black again. I woke up the second time to find myself tied up in a different room, alone. I suddenly remembered the ring in my finger and tried to use it to cut the rope. The greenstone cracked open, showing a sharp object that could help me free myself faster. So, this had been Max's plan the whole time? He didn't abandon me after all. As soon as he successfully cut the rope, I heard the keys from outside, so I grabbed the wood piece nearby to defend myself. I stood right behind the door, ready to knock out any guy stepping in, but I was pleasantly surprised to find it was Max opening the door to find me. I almost hit him in the face, but Max could avoid it. We hugged each other in silence. He apologized to me nonstop for putting me in such a dangerous situation, but he had no other way. He simply planned to trade me for his sister as soon as possible, but was hesitant afterward because he fell in love with me. So, there he was, coming back to rescue me. Max apologized and kissed me deeply. But then we heard loud noises outside. The gangsters were looking for Max.
Hurry up! We need to get out of here!
Max rushed me. No, we can't leave like this. What about the other girls? We need to save them too. Together we can do this, Max, to pay back for what you've done. Max agreed. We sneaked out of the room and followed the corridor to the other rooms where the girls were kept. As Max was trying to break the lock, a black shadow flashed by. It was the bald guy and his company. The big dude ran over and hit Max on his back with a baseball. Max collapsed. The guy lifted me up by one arm and knocked me against the wall.
Who do you think you're messing around with?
The bald one screamed. Max struggled to stand up and run toward the big dude to push him over. Max didn't leave any second for him to react and punch him multiple times. The two of them fought for a while and the guy was completely taken out. By that time, other guys arrived and grabbed Max. I stood up, still in pain, and noticed a wood piece nearby, so I pick it up and run toward them. But right then, the sound of a shotgun fired stopped me. Max released a painful sound and fell to the ground. Hands wrapped around his stomach. Blood was everywhere. He used his body to block the bullet from the bald guy flying toward me. I regret my action immediately. Why was I so stupid? I was scared and crying next to Max. He looked at me lovingly and said,
Sorry for everything. If I could ask for one last thing, please take care of Lynn.
And he drew his last breath after that. From afar, I think I heard the sirens approaching. The mafia gang ran away. The police officers arrived and saved the girls. Lynn showed up after that. She told me that they agreed in advance that if Max couldn't get out of me in time, Lynn would have to inform the police. Lynn kneeled next down to Max, holding his hands and cried. I held her lightly and we both cried. A year later, Lynn and I visited where we buried Max and brought him a beautiful bouquet. We're here, Max. Lynn just won the first prize in the competition at school. She's literally the best. As for me, I opened my own coffee shop and Lynn has been helping me out a lot. There's nothing to be worried about anymore. We will take good care of each other. At that moment, when Lynn and I leaned on each other and looked at Max's photo, we could feel his warm smile from heaven.